A fiend and an arcanist. Working together. Nightmares will not deter me, demon fawn. Stay your sermons, I won't be swayed.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are playing Yone in the new season, and I'm gonna start off saying that lethal tempo is absolutely broken on this champion, and I'm gonna show you exactly why in this Diamond 2 ranked game that I played. First of all, I'm gonna go through the basics really fast. So Yone is a late game skilling hyper carry, guys. He's supposed to be weak early game, but with the lethal tempo he's also strong in the early game, so you can already tell how strong that is. His passive gives him double crit chance from items, so meaning that once you have shield bow and an infinity edge, then you have 100% crit chance. And if you get more than 100% crit chance, then that excessive crit will be turned into bonus AD. And then he also has some mixed damage in his auto attacks and some of his abilities, meaning that he deals both physical damage and magic damage. So he's pretty hard to counter, because even if you buy armor, then he still has a lot of magic damage in his kit. Your Q is the main ability, low cooldown ability that deals AoE damage to targets hit, and it also gives you stacks. Once it's fully stacked, guys, then your next Q will become a dash that also knocks up targets that you hit. You can use that dash to hop over walls with, so you can get to other parts of the map faster, to catch people or even to run away. Your W is a damaging ability that deals damage in a cone in front of you. It gives you a shield, and that shield becomes stronger if you hit multiple enemy champs. It deals damage based on the target's maximum health, so it's going to be stronger later on in the game when people get tankier. Your E, guys, is what Yone is known for. So as soon as you press it, you go into the spirit form, leaving your main body behind that cannot be damaged or targeted. Once you're in the spirit form, you gain increased bonus movement speed, and then you apply a mark to the enemy champ. And then as you damage that enemy champion, you store some of that damage, and once you recast that E, the stored damage will be dealt to them. If the target is within execution range of that E, guys, then that mark that will appear above them will be cut in half and turn black. So if it turns black and cut in half, when you E out, it means that they will be executed. So that's very important to know. Another really important thing, guys, is that the second part of your E, when you recast it, you become unstoppable. So it means that you can use it as a cleansing ability. You can use it to dodge CC abilities, like Zoe's bubble, stuns. A lot of different abilities can be countered with it, so it's important that you also use it in this way, because it really lets you avoid those heavy CC abilities and let you survive in those fights. Because Yone is very squishy, he has a lot of damage, but he's very squishy. That's why this champion is considered a counter pick to champions like Zoe, because she will never be able to use that bubble on you as long as you use that E properly. As to how you play Yone in the laning phase, we are playing against the Tryndamere. We thought that it was Rise, that's why I have magic resistance runes and start with Doran's shield. But you want to last it in the early game, you want to last it with your Q. And that W, use that to counter some of that damage thrown at you while also last hitting the minions. He is supposed to be very weak in the early game, but because of this new lethal tempo, guys, he has almost no cooldown on that Q. It's like playing Yone in the late game, where you don't have any cooldown on that Q, guys. That's how it feels level 1, if you can get it stacked. Because how the lethal tempo works now is that instead of that attack speed being delayed, you get it instantly, similar to Conqueror, and you can stack it up. And once it's fully stacked, you get that increased attack speed cap, and then you also get bonus auto attack range. It feels insane on Yone just because of how fast that Q comes off cooldown. That's what you saw early on when I solo killed that Tryndamere in the early game. Like, Tryndamere is a really bad matchup for the Yone, but because of the lethal tempo and how it synergizes with your Q and your W, because your Q and W cooldown scales off of attack speed. So when you get more attack speed, then that Q cooldown will come up faster. And since you're getting so much attack speed from that lethal tempo, you can abuse that already from level 1. Normally this is something you would not be able to do last season, because you had to wait until you get your attack speed items. But now you pretty much have everything in this keystone, so you can just constantly spam your Q and outtrade most champs in the game. So I definitely think Yone and Yasuo is absolutely broken right now. So if you want that free elo guys, then this is the champ you have to abuse. Now you have that ultimate, so that's your super long range engage tool that makes you blink to the enemy champs, and you're gonna appear behind the champ you hit. And it's also a CC tool, it kind of knocks them back, like towards you. And it also makes you unstoppable, so this can also be used to block out CC abilities with. But it's not as effective as your E. Because if you get hit by a CC ability that lasts longer than your ultimate, for example the Veigar's cage, if you ult through his cage, you'll be unstoppable during the animation, but as soon as your ultimate animation ends, then you're gonna be stunned. So it can also be used to block out CC abilities, but it's a lot riskier to use than your E. Because it can be body blocked, so for example, if a champion stands in front of you, you will not teleport all the way, you're gonna appear behind them. So your main disengage tool has to be your E. Your ultimate is used to engage. It's very good in teamfights. It makes Yone super strong in teamfights because he can engage by himself. It's not like a Yasuo who has to like wait for the perfect moment, like get a couple knockups before he can engage. Yone can do that by himself. He does not rely on having teammates with knockups like Yasuo does. It is a super rewarding champ. He is difficult to play if you are playing against good players who know how to abuse his early game. I know that he's super strong early game right now because of lethal tempo, but normally he does have a weak early game, guys. And if you're playing against skilled opponents who know how to abuse it, then you have to be careful. You have to prioritize farming. You want to get that shield bow and the berserkers. That's a big power spike, and the biggest one comes once you have Infinity Edge for that 100% crit chance and increased damage. But this game, guys, is played in a high diamond game. This account is currently in diamond 2. And this game, I'll go absolutely crazy showing you exactly how strong this lethal tempo is. It's supposed to be like the super late game option, but Riot made this keystone really strong on Yasuo and Yone, because both of their Qs works in the same way that it scales with attack speed, so the more attack speed you have, the lower cooldown, up to a cap of course. But for Yone, your Q and your W scales off attack speed. It's not only the cooldown that will be affected, but also the cast time. So you'll notice that when you have more attack speed, then your Q and W also animation also speeds up a lot faster. When you combo on Yone, your ultimate is very easy to dodge because it has a delay to it. So if you want a guaranteed hit with your ultimate, then you have to time it with your Q as well. So stack up your Q and then you knock up the attack with your Q, and then you immediately press your ultimate. So they will be chain CC'd and there's no way to escape it. Even if they have flash up, they will not have any time to escape it. So that's a guaranteed way of hitting that combo. Otherwise, try to fight in your E, because it's gonna deal that bonus damage. It does add up later on in the game, and it's pretty close to being true damage. The second part of it is, guys, it does deal absolutely insane amount of damage later on, so you have to make sure that you fight inside that E. Remember that it is going to pull you back no matter what. But if you're caught inside ultimates like the Camille's ultimate or the Malta's ultimate suppression abilities, it means that your E will be extended, the duration of it will be extended until you are free to move again. You can also use the first part of your E to dash over walls, but it should never be used to escape with, because it is always going to drag you back to your main body. So people can just wait at your main body instead of trying to chase you, and then wait until you are forced back. So never ever try to use it to escape with. Super important. You can use it to dodge abilities or to stall, but never try to escape with it. It's a mistake that a lot of new Yone players are making, so it's very important that you guys know this so you don't make the same mistakes. We almost have enough gold for the shield bow. That's a big power spike. You get that shield passive and the sustain as well, all in one item, including attack speed and damage. So you get a lot of the stats that you absolutely need in a single item. That's why this is the only mythic item you want to buy in Yone until any other changes are made. This is the best in every single case, no matter which team composition you're playing against. When you play against bad matchups like the Tryndamere for example, when you play against melee champs right now, even if it's a bad matchup, if you can get that lethal tempo stacked up, remember that it's similar to Conqueror in that you can stack it up when you auto attack enemy champs and then it doesn't decay instantly. Like other abilities and keystones, when you're out of combat, it doesn't decay instantly. It's like Jax's passive, where like lose stacks at a time instead of like losing everything at once. So you can keep this keystone going as long as you can continue fighting the enemy champs. Now that we have enough gold for the shield bow, big power spike as I said earlier on, you can start looking for fights normally here if you're not already ahead. It does make those assassin matchups easier. It is still going to be very difficult because Yone struggles a lot against those early game lane bullies. It is a scaling champ. It's not very strong in the late game. Or in the early game I mean. Not the late game, he's very strong in the late game, but weak in the early game. So those assassin matchups like the set is going to absolutely crush you if you don't play it out safe. But when you have the shield bow, then you have that extra shield as well. That is going to protect you in those whole lanes, and then with a sustain you should be able to sustain yourself back up. As they push the waves into your tower, then you can farm under the tower, heal back up from the minions and then try to stall it out. As long as you can get into the mid to late game, you should be good to go. Like the number one objective when playing Yone, you want to be able to farm safely, scale up safely, play towards your power spike, berserkers, shield bow and infinity edge. As you have these items, then you should be able to beat most champions in the game in a 1 versus 1. Even very difficult matchups like the Tryndamere can be beaten if you play it right, but some matchups are almost unplayable, like a Pantheon, Renekton, Aurelia, especially Aurelia if it's a good high elo Aurelia. Because that's like the worst possible lane you can play against the Yone is the Aurelia. She's way too mobile for you to deal with, she has way more damage. Because of her passive, she's just gonna out DPS you no matter what. Even if you outplay her and dodge all of her abilities like one guys, like in the early game, she's still gonna out DPS you. And with her mobility, it's very hard for you to deal with. So if you're playing high elos, then ban out the Aurelia. If you're playing low elos, then you can ban out some of the difficult assassins that you see a lot. Like the set for example. Or if you see champions like Pantheon or Renekton picked a lot, then you can also ban out those. If you look at how I engage right here, so that new mage mythic item that gives them makes it so they take reduced damage, I took out that passive first and then I went in with the ultimate afterwards. You do not always have to go E into your ultimate, because then people know that your ultimate will come in and then they will try to react to it. But if you just use your ultimate out of nowhere, then you can catch them off guard and then you can look for an all lane. That is something every good Yone player knows, and that's something you also have to know, because it will really allow you to pick up a lot of free kills. But this is pretty much the mid game stage. So when the first couple of towers go down, you want to go into side lane. In high-elo, I like to play Yone with teleport because people are really good in the laning phase and they know how to play against your weaknesses. So teleport kinda, gives you that extra free recall, because if you're ever low HP, then you can just recall and then teleport back to lane. But it's also a lot better than ignite in the later stages because it allows you to split push. Ignite is good in the laning phase. You can also play Yone with Ignite, but it's a lot worse in the later stages because when you have teleport up, then you can AFK split push because you can always help out your teammates if they get caught because you have teleport up. By constantly being in the side lanes, you can get that XP and goal lead for yourself, get that massive advantage over the opponent, and that's how you snowball the games. That's how you get like these 2-3 level XP leads. I'm telling you guys, lethal tempo is absolutely broken. It might get nerfed soon, or they might try to nerf Yone and Yasuo just because of how well they can abuse it. Even that bonus auto attack range is also really strong because that makes it even harder for people to trade with you, especially if it's a melee matchup. Now we got that Infinity Edge in one go. I teleported topside because our AD carry was going to die anyway, so we did not want to waste any time. You have to be very selfish when you play these late game scaling champs. You want everything for yourself. I teleported topside because we were able to get the waves, and then we can also push for the tower. But this is the big power spike. This is why you have to start carrying. You must find kills. You have to force fights and get kills, because this is why you're super strong. You can destroy most people in a 1 versus 1. You have to take advantage of this, and this is why you start carrying the game, guys. Force fights. Force people to try to come and defend objectives. And you have to play him like an assassin. You look for the squishy targets, you try to find them with your ultimate, and then you burst them down, and then you quickly get out with your E. So it's a late game hyper carry with a playstyle of an assassin. So this is how you have to play Yone. You have to flank people. If you have someone engaging for you, then you don't have to flank, but in this case we don't. If you have like a Malphite, then you can just follow up. But if you are the one who has to engage for your team, guys, then you have to find the carries in the backline, and the only way you can do that is by flanking and making sure they don't have any wards up. So get the lens, the sweeper, find the carries, blow them up, and use that extra time to get yourself even further ahead. Take down the objectives like the towers, inhibitors, dragons, barons, or even the rift herald. Take anything away you can, guys. And you can see the damage is absolutely insane at this stage of the game. But lethal tempo is insanely broken, and I'm playing this in a high-low game just to show you guys how strong it is. Because anyone can snowball in a low elo game. So that's why I'm playing this in high elo, so you guys can see how strong it is. And I highly recommend that you play Yone with lethal tempo now, because it makes his late game even stronger, but it also makes his early game strong. And it really helps you like stall in those difficult early game matchups. Lethal tempo is strong when you can get this stacked, but when you play in the early game against ranged champs, then it can be difficult to get it stacked. So usually you just let people push early game. That's how you find with Yone, is that you just let them push because he is immobile. His mobility comes from getting your Q stacked and having your ultimate up, so it's not true mobility. You cannot use it whenever you want to. So that's why he is considered immobile. You want to let people push the lane towards you so you can farm safely under the tower. But if you can trade early on, then of course go for it, but also make sure that you have proper vision, or at least know where the enemy jungler is, because if he comes for a gank, then you almost always have to blow out your summoner spells to survive. And if you don't have that up, then you're probably dead. Very important that you have the proper vision before you go for any trades or fights. So at this stage, you can buy a lot of different items. Some people like to go for Mortal Reminder. You can do that if they have a lot of sustain. Death Stance is what we do in Halo because it gives you tankiness against the AD champs. And it also gives you damage and that anti-burst passive. That's very good against the AD champs like the Tryndamere and the Graves, because it makes it so instead of taking all the damage instantly, it makes it so you take it over time. And that allows you to sustain that damage back up with your lifesteal. And of course, if you get a takedown, then you get that health refunded immediately. So it's very, very good against AD assassins. Like really good against AD assassins. But also if they have a AD heavy team, then you can also get it. You can also get the Bloodthirster. But I like to get it later on in the game, guys, because you already have a lot of damage at this point. They also want something to defend yourself with. This item gives you both offensive and defensive stats. Because if people buy Serpent's Fang, the item that counters shielding abilities, meaning countering your W and the shield bow passive, then if you get Bloodthirster, then that will also be countered. But there is no counter to the Death Stance, so that's why it's very good to get after the Infinity Edge. Now we can go for the Bloodthirster, and then you can also get the Guardian Angel as your last item. But when you have these items, then you should be able to fight. You have to force fights. You should be able to carry as well, because you have all the damage you need. When you have teleport up, you don't want to group, because you'll have the TP to help them out with. So just stay in the side lane. This is what I do all the time, guys. If they somehow get caught and you think you can win the fight, then you can TP in. But if you think that you're not going to win the fight even if you TP, then just stay in the side lanes. Get the minion waves and then try to get the towers as well. Just anything you can get. Just gotta keep pushing in the bottom side. Don't just waste your teleport, really have to make sure that you can get something out of it before you actually use it. This is why I said that if you want guaranteed hits with your ultimate, guys, do like I did right here. You'll knock up Q into the ultimate, they will not be able to dodge it, and that's how you get all of your burst damage off. And this is what allowed me to get that double kill in the bot lane. Even though that Tryndamere is insanely fed right now, he is going to win a 1 versus 1 if I am melee range, because he has the damage and he also has that ultimate, right? But if you play it smart like I did right here, you can even pull off those 1 versus 2 outplays. So it is definitely a champion that is going to take a lot of time to master. If you play in low elos, then you will be able to pick up a lot of kills. But as you get matched with more skilled opponents, they know how to abuse your laning phase. That's why it's important that you know how to stall on this champ, that you try to play around the power spikes. You need the items first and then you try to look for plays. And the only consistent way that you can get a lead every single game, guys, is by farming. Because you will not be able to get kills every single game. This game I'm snowballing out of control. It is a high elo game, but we managed to find kills in the early game. But we will not be able to do this every single game. So that's why you always have to prioritize farming well, because that is the only consistent thing that you can do every single game. Focus on farming well. Focus on getting high CS per minute. If you can do that, then you should be able to carry most of your games with Yone. Even if your teammates are ending, even if you don't get any kills, then you should be able to carry just by having good farm, because that will allow you to get the items you need, and then you can use that to destroy your opponents with. But yes, I do think Lethal Tempo is way stronger than Conqueror right now, but of course these are the two main keystones that you want to use right now, guys. You can also use Fleet Footwork, but Lethal Tempo is the strongest, and then Conqueror is next, and then Fleet Footwork is the last option. But right now, Lethal Tempo is way stronger than these two options, so that's why you should probably use this every single game. Remember, there are a lot of different items that you can build on Yone. I'm going for a glass cannon build, but I will also get the Guardian Angel, so I will have something defensive later on. But if they have champs with a lot of grid items, this game they have Kaelin and the Tryndamere, for example, and the Graves as well. Randuin's Omen will be really good because of that active. So that's also something you can buy, but I'm snowballing this game, so I don't really care about it. But if they were ahead, then I would definitely consider buying the Randuins. You can also build a lot of different magic resistance items. It really depends on the game, so you have a lot of options when it comes to items. As long as you get these core items, you know, like the shield bow and the infinity edge, then you're pretty much free to build other defensive items if you want to. So if you need it, then definitely go ahead and build those defensive items. Remember to kite in that E as well. It does give you bonus movement speed, so if you're playing in a matchup like the Tryndamere where you cannot fight him head on, then kite with that Q and their bonus movement speed. So like stay out of their auto attack range and you constantly hit them with that Q, and then you kite back and forth with your E. But I can tell you 100% this is broken Lethal Tempo. I think Yone will have a really high win rate when people realize how strong this is. That's why I'm making this video on the first day, so you guys know, and you can abuse it if you want to. And have a little fun as well, because people do not expect your Q to come up that fast in the early game. That's why this Tryndamere died, gave me first blood. Because he did not know that my Q will be up almost instantly. Remember to always look for that mark on your E, guys. Very important. Because it will tell you when the opponent is getting executed, so you can E out immediately. But also keep in mind if someone has a shield or heal, because they can like try to bait out your E, but if they heal, then they will not get executed by it. That's why countering Yone, shielding abilities are very good against Yone, because it will mess up his C and the damage. We are pretty even this game, team-wise. I'm of course really far ahead. But this is a hard carry champ. It is a 1 vs 9 champ. If you're good on this champ, then you should be able to carry most of your games. It is a champion that rewards your time put into it, similar to like Yasuo. Yasuo is way harder to play of course, but this champion is also something that will reward you the more you play him. You can go for those 1 vs 3s if you're confident in the champ, guys. This is the stuff that you'll be able to do as you learn his limits. And the only way you learn his limits is by playing him. You will understand exactly how much damage he can deal. That's why it's important that if you pick these champs, you like playing them, then you have to invest a lot of time into them. And you'll be able to do stuff like this. But this was how to play Yone, guys. I really hope this was helpful. Make sure to abuse that Lethal Tempo because it is broken right now and it is going to give you some free elo. Thank you so much for watching and see you all in the next video.